Imam Abu Hanifarhantalade, among his very prominent students, Imam Abu Yusuh rahmatullah and Imam Muhammada rahmatullah, they achieved that level of acceptance that almost every place where Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah's masala and his ruling is recorded, mentioned, in every other place you'll find the discussion about what Imam Abu Yusuh had to say, what Imam Muhammad rahmatullah had to say. So they reach a very high level of acceptance. Among Imam Sahib's students was also Imam Yusuh rahmatullah, and he was also an extremely intelligent person, very great mujtahid, and he was not anywhere lesser than Imam Abu Yusuh and Imam Muhammad rahmatullah in his knowledge, in his expertise, in his ability to deduce masail. He was not anywhere behind them. But yet somehow, not that he was disregarded entirely, but he didn't gain that prominence and that acceptance that these two students of Imam Sahib received. So this had become quite noticeable after some time, that despite his expertise, etc., he somehow is not anywhere in the same category like these two students. So one day somebody asked Imam Hanifarhantalade that this is a very clear distinction that is visible, that these two people are in a very different level of acceptance, and their ilm is being spread even greater, the benefit that people are receiving from them. And Imam Zufar is also a very great personality, but he's not on the same level as these people, yet his expertise is not behind them. So what is the reason for this? So sometimes things are taken for granted, but these things have a far-reaching impact. Imam Sahib explained that once I was walking and coming, and he was busy studying. He was busy studying, he was very engrossed in his mutala, in his work, and at that time he noticed me coming across. But it perhaps crossed his mind that now he is going to disturb his work, because he was so enthusiastic about what he was studying, and his mind was so deeply engrossed in that. If a person is busy doing something and then he stops to now talk to someone, so now it will disrupt the train of thought, it will disrupt the concentration, and now sometimes to get back to where the person left off from, to collect the thoughts again, sometimes it might have been a very intricate point, something very complicated, now the person is just putting it together and just understanding it. So whatever the case might have been, so he says at that time he noticed me coming, but he made it appear as if he didn't notice me, so that he doesn't have to cause any disruption to what he was busy with at that time. So at that time this passed through my heart involuntarily, that this, despite that, though the Ustad won't think about it from his perspective in that manner, that I should be respected, that I should be given any kind of consideration, but for the student that is necessary. So this involuntary thought crossed that this person has, in a way, so to say, disregarded his Ustad. Perhaps that involuntary feeling, and obviously it created some disappointment. So that disappointment that came very, very briefly, and it would have passed, because he wouldn't have harbored anything. But that disappointment became a barrier. Not that he got deprived of ilm. Alhamdulillah, he was a very great personality. His views are also recorded from time to time in various places in the kitabs. But it is nowhere close to where Sahibain, Imam Abu Yusuh and Imam Muhammad, where they reached. Now that involuntary, Allah knows best what the reality might be, but this apparently seemed to have become the barrier. Now these things sometimes are taken for granted. It is not given any thought, well, this can become an issue for me, this can become a barrier for me. But these things do become barriers. Therefore, a person, within whatever is in his capacity, what is in his capacity, he should never ever allow such a thing to ever happen, that some action of his, willful action of his, becomes a barrier, something that is beyond his control. Sometimes there's some misunderstanding of some sort. Obviously he's not in his control, but something that is in his capacity, something that he can be making sure that he doesn't allow that to happen. Willfully, deliberately, he should never ever allow such a thing to take place which becomes a barrier. Somebody else's issue, that's their matter between them and Allah Ta'ala. But his side of it, he must make sure he keeps his side clean and clear. And his actions, his words, whatever his manner, nothing should constitute any disrespect. It should never be anything close to any kind of disregard for any ustad, any person, any senior. Allah forbid, sometimes, later in time, these things start becoming an obstacle. Allah Ta'ala give us that.
अल्लाह अल्लाह कैसा प्यारा नाम है, आशिकों का मीना और जाम है।